Hi, hello everyone. We are chatting about the finally, of Canada's Drag Race Season 5. And this finale was definitely exactly what I expected it to be. We're gonna get into our winner, we're gonna get into the challenge, we're gonna get into the songs, as well as some of the eliminated queens. Let's get in here. We're finally here. The opening starts out with all of the top 4 in their most iconic wins of the season, and I really appreciated that little tribute, even if it was just a 5 to 10 minute edit job. Someone in production went and pulled those photos, and I appreciated that little attention to detail. All 4 of these contestants are really fun. They have their own point of view and personalities and perspectives on drag. I really love Minnie's thesis on drag. She doesn't incorporate hyperfemininity, that she is not afraid to reference her masculinity and her actual body. I love Helena's point of view, being this gorgeous, sultry woman who happens to be a little dark-sided, and not in a wife swap way. Virgo has this very specific 90s point of view. I love Michaela being this powerful, strong black woman. I really enjoy this top 4. I still found myself excited to see what was going to happen despite kind of having an idea. See, because the thing is, Virgo got a lot of screen time throughout the entire episode. I need one of those people who just devote their lives to figuring out confession times and the minute marks of everyone that has confessions and how long they got, because she took up almost every bit of space this episode. I gotta talk about Tracy's walk into the workroom, because she walked in that room looking like Jennifer Coolidge in Cinderella's story, talking about the Botox that she got. She walked in that workroom like she was about to say, "Do you want a cookie? So moist." That lip was pumped. I love my queen Tracy Melchior. That is my winner of all time. This woman had just gotten pumped. That lip was full. And then she put the gloss on it so the light hit it, and she was like, bam, freshly filled tires. Then all the queens get to sit down with Venus, do a little chit chat about what the crown would mean to them if they won. Some got more of a focus on that than others did. And then they did a little photo shoot where they have to pose nude. Once again, Minnie's hairline was blurry, mama. There was so much blur effect from that beauty filter. You could not see a line between that blur. It went crazy, and they could have been a little bit less shady by blurring the hell out of that. It was blurred to death and back, and then went to purgatory, and they blurred it again, murdered it there, and sent it to another layer of hell where they blurred it one more time. There was nothing left of this square acre of her hairline. And again, the edit is very heavy on Virgo right now. I was rooting for Minnie through the entirety of last episode into this one, and I was really hoping that we would be able to get something like a Minnie and Michaela as the top 2. Probably Michaela would win that lip sync, because I just don't see Minnie being able to beat her. I'm so sorry if you're seeing this. I see Michaela winning in something like that. So let's get straight into these songs. Or gaily into these songs. These were so much better than last season. Last season they did this horrid, funky little bop that was so forgettable and unmemorable and bad quality. Oh, it was bad. This one was so good. I really liked the beats of it. I think the little pyrotechnic show in the end of it was great. I love the amount of space that they had to sing, and I wish that Mainline Drag Race would take a note from this challenge, because if every finalist got a chance in that last episode to do an entire song like this, I think that would be very powerful. I think it would be a nice end cap to the series. What I personally am looking for with these types of singing challenge scenarios is I want to see their personal growth on the show reflected in a song. So if you did really good in the Snatch Game and that was your high moment, and then you had a couple lows where you doubted yourself, talk about that, address that, bring that to the forefront. If you did well all season, talk about where that ferocity comes from. announced at the beginning that you did great all season long, and here is why you are like that. Here's what inspires you for your drag. If you have a specific POV, like you're a political activist or you are very proud of your culture, make that the forefront of your song. Whatever you think the audience should know about you the most is what you should talk about. And I think some people did that really well, and I think some people did that at a level, not an A+, if that makes sense. I loved Michaela in Red. That high pony was so hot, and she absolutely 100% justifiably earned top 2 from this challenge alone. Even if her performance all season was a little rocky and up and down at points, I do think that she was very true to herself all season, had a specific POV, had a specific brand, and was always true to that brand. She had so much energy and so much swag. I only saw the gears moving a couple times. That's when you're in the middle of one move and you're transitioning to another one. You can kind of see the eyes sort of being like, where am I supposed to be? Oh, right. I only saw that a few times. But I wasn't super distracted by it because when she was on and hitting it, it was at 2000%. She sounded really good. I think the timbre of her singing was a little reminiscent of someone like Eartha Kitt. Is that crazy? The way that her voice kind of naturally has this vibrato and the head voice that she goes into, and I was into that. The song was all about being powerful and being Black and being proud of those things. And that is something that is her brand. I think she did a great job at putting a final bow over her performance all season. All right, Xana, you have been watching every one of these, and I gotta know, as a stan, was that your hair? Was that your wig from the promo? Because I'm pretty sure that was your promo wig. I remember talking about that wig and talking about the big hoop that was in it and the blonde parts at the end. Someone in editing messed it up and turned a part of it black, and someone badly edited it back into the photo. And I think that was your hair. I have no problem with that. I just want it to be addressed. I'm not gonna be fake here. I didn't really like the look. I didn't really like the performance. I thought the moves were a little crunchy, but I don't think of Minnie Wang as Canada's greatest dancer that ever existed. I associate her with the duality of masculine and feminine. I associate her with drag that is beautiful and stupid at the same time. I associate her personality with being beautiful and stupid. One of the highest points of the competition to me was that alien challenge where at the very beginning she looked like this glam 1990s housewife that was campaigning against gay people and just stupidly smiling the whole time because she was promised cookies at the end of it. That being said, her song was all about her actual transition on Drag Race and what she did from episode 1 to the very end, even referencing her Snatch Game character, referencing voices that she did on the show. I really loved her inflection on drag queen in the same way that Rue did in that one late night interview show. Drag queen! Her song was dumb, but it was funny. I like that it was a tribute to her run on the show. That being said, it was nuts. It was a nuts song. You're now a fan of the Wang. Very good branding at that point. I've always been a fan of a Wang. I'm a fan of mini and large Wangs. Give me all the Wangs. I'm a fan. I think that she did a good job at stamping who she was, but I don't think the packaging was delivered as smoothly as it could have been. Next was Helena doing Poison. I think the bodysuit was hot, first and foremost. The look was hot. The booty was hot. When she went and spanked it, ooh, that was hot. I was like Vanessa Hudgens, like, ooh. The glitter eye is my new religion. I really liked her line, I'm the venom and the antidote. Her whispering poison like she was Jennifer Tilly all over again through the song was really fun. Great stamping of a brand. That being said, I don't think it said very much, but I don't think it needed to. She stuck to who she is, which is a fabulous drag queen who is giving you poison. And she has this grunge element about her. And her drag is about feeding you something that you're not used to seeing and forcing you to swallow it. And realizing that it's not what you think it is. It's not going to kill you because she is the antidote. I think there's a sort of visceral negative reaction to grungy alternate drag, as there should be. Dragula gives a great representation of grungy alternative drag that's a little hard to swallow, but once you do, you realize it's good. And I think that's a lot of what Helena's point of view in drag is, and I think this song stamped that too. When the judges said she lacked energy, I thought that was crazy. Like, what was that critique? Did they not watch the same performance that we did? Did they see the first cut and then we saw the second cut and that's what they were commenting on was the first time around? I was confusion. Last up is Virgo doing The Stars Have Aligned. I didn't love the silver corset. I didn't like this half bob with the fall behind it because the red was really jarring against that color. And the corset and the bottom half were two different shades of pearlescent silver. And I didn't like that visually. I think the movement on that belt shawl was interesting. Hers was a lot like Helena's. I don't think it really said anything. And what it did say seemed a little discordant with what the hook was. Now, she sounded amazing. Talking about the stars being aligned, and then talking about all the different points in Drag Race, juxtaposed with being one of a kind. It felt a lot like Helena's, where it just didn't feel like there was through lines between everything. It sort of felt like just talking and saying stuff. The performance was solid though. So if I were to rank all of them, I would put Michaela at number 1, followed by Helena, followed by Virgo, followed by Minnie. And then based off of their looks, which I'll get into in a second, I would have also kept them kind of in that similar order. I think Michaela dog walked that finale. I think Helena looked so good, then Virgo, and then Minnie, personally. We get to see the looks from all of the eliminated queens. Tara looked gorgeous. I'm very sad we didn't get to see more looks from her this season because I know she put the work into it. Sanjina's was really fun. Oh, I love Jaylene and I loved her presence in The Untucked. I missed her presence through the rest of this season. Her saying, "Let me address the elephant in the room. I look so good," was, I just missed her. Imagine a world where we got to see her in the top 4. Xana gagged me in this purple. I thought she looked, so good. And Perla continues to be the fashion icon and one of my favorite fashion girlies. Then we get to see the top 4 finale looks. I loved this silver for Virgo. The neck cowl was beautiful. I loved the shimmer and the glitter. My overall note is that she looked expenny. Helena looked hot. And I loved the details of the makeup down her arm and on her neck. Much like she had been poisoned by something but managed to live through it and just had these purple deformities. I loved how it was applied and sort of like smudged everywhere. It was good. It was artistry at its finest. And she has such a solid POV that a lot of queens just don't have. Minnie was very pretty. I did think it was a little simplistic for a finale. That's not a problem, but it was a little simplistic in comparison to everyone else. Still very strong. And Michaela to me was the most impressive. She was opulent, she looked expensive, she looked rich, she looked like a queen of a far country. All the details that were on this dress were everything. I mean, look at her. Look at her go, she looks so good. And honestly, shout out to Sanjina just vibing and boogieing during I Bring the Beat. That was the highlight of the entire night for me. A few things got aired out in the Untucked, and I cannot wait to see what the Bring Back My Girls for this season is going to be. When and if that eventually happens, hopefully it happens at DragCon LA. Jaylene was so main character and I was obsessed with them. And speaking of Jaylene, they actually get to win Miss Congeniality and are given their prize by Kit and Caboodle, the Congeniality of last season. It makes me really happy that both of these queens have been given the space to share their stories, share their drag, share their point of view on Drag Race, and hopefully people have fallen in love with them because I enjoy them both so much. And our top 2 is Virgo and Michaela. And this leads me to my biggest problem that I have with the current way that WoW is managing basically all of the franchises. Everything is getting just a little stale and predictable. That's not to diminish anybody's wins, but it has felt like for the last several years that if you make a splash in the first episode specifically, but in the first 2 episodes, you're pretty much locked in for the finale. So I look back at Canada specifically, where in the last season, we had Venus win the very first challenge, and in Versus the World, Lemon won the very first challenge, scaling all the way to the end where they win this season. Virgo won the very first lip sync and then wins the whole thing. I look to other seasons like Frankie Wonga, who won the very first episode and won the whole thing. I did not keep up with a lot of the other international seasons this year. I was very busy, but I feel like this happens and has been happening for some time. And whether that's producers or someone just being that genuinely good is kind of irrelevant, because it feels very set up from the beginning to get that win and then win at the very end. That's not to say that Virgo did bad, because Virgo did quite well all season. They did have some struggle points, as did Michaela, as did Minnie, as did Helena. No one's going to be perfect in a drag queen competition unless you're Carmen Farala. Sometimes it feels a little hands-on and it feels a little overproduced in some way. Like, I want a surprise at the very end. I want to be excited that the winner got picked, but when they're primed all the way from the beginning, it makes it a less exciting competition in my opinion, because I just think, well, if you were already destined to win, why did we have to go through this whole process just to give the crown to the one you wanted to give the crown to in the first place? And I feel like sometimes they have to make critiques stick, like saying that Helena's energy was bad in the challenge in order to justify cutting her because they want to recreate episode 1 again. And something about that does bother me just a little bit. I've noticed that with WoW in general over the last couple of years, and TBQH, I feel like this started with Lawrence Chaney. Lawrence made a big impact in the beginning, but really faltered through the rest of the season and still won at the end because she had Rue's attention. There have been other queens like that I think of, like Crystal Versace, who did well at the beginning and then had a lot of bumps along the way, where people like Ella and Bimini just kept getting better and better and better and didn't get the reward at the end. And so this isn't a new concept when it comes to WoW, it's just one that has been happening so often that it's getting dull. Again, I want to be surprised. I don't need you to knock out the first winner. I don't need you to harm their trajectory at all. But I think Virgo was always on their sightlines to win the whole thing. And I feel like even last week, where I think Virgo did perform objectively the weakest on the runway, that was deserving of maybe a bottom placement, but she was called safe first. Maybe they were worried if they put her in the bottom that someone would send her home and they wouldn't be able to crown her. In times where other queens have done bad and they didn't end up in the bottom, was that because they were worried they would get knocked out? I'm thinking back to Lawrence during that roast challenge where she objectively should have been in the bottom with Ellie. But they didn't put either one of them there because they didn't want to risk losing Lawrence to someone like Tace or Ahura, who are great lip syncers. So for me, I do feel like this format is getting a little tired. Our finale song is From This Moment On by Shania Twain. What? Why? This is a love song, a ballad about how you've chosen someone that is gonna be there for you forever and you're never gonna split because you are each other's person. It's a great song. It's really triumphant as a relationship song. I don't think this is a great song for a finale of Drag Race. I feel like there's Celine songs they could have pulled. I don't know. More power to them. I think they performed it very well. Virgo had a lot of charisma and charm. She performed strongly. I think Michaela had this energy that was radiating off of her that was just powerful and beautiful to watch. She was a little harmed by her headpiece, and I wish that she had found a way to take that off, or before she even went out, switched up her wig so that she didn't have to worry about that headpiece, because I feel like that was definitely a hindrance. I noticed that she had to keep reaching back and supporting it, and that would have been so bad if that had fallen off. Another thing I noticed is kind of similar to what happened with Alexis versus Lemon, is that Michaela was not really in that edit. Alexis did the strongest in that lip sync every time we saw her, but they kept doing these wide shots so that it was both her and Lemon, and as soon as Alexis would start to do something interesting, it would pan over to show Lemon and just focus on her and linger there for a while, and then scoot back over to Alexis as she was finishing, so it made her look less polished. I feel like that kept happening in this lip sync. Anytime Michaela started doing anything interesting visually or with her hands or moving, it would immediately pan away and go over to Virgo. I would rather a full split screen. Show us both of them unfiltered, without any cuts to the other one. Just show us both of them at the same time. And then maybe if you're gonna give a full screen, give whatever the highlight is, like if they do a cartwheel, or if they kick their shoe off up into the rafters, or if they jump off the stage and throw an apple at Brooke. You know, put that on as the center one, but otherwise give a split screen. So then we get an unbiased opinion on who actually won it. Because in my opinion, I feel like Michaela was the most dynamic and the most interesting to me. And I think for me, I think Michaela won it. So then we get our step down look from our winner from last season, Venus, and she did mention and preemptively said something on Twitter that her designer dropped out kind of last minute, and then she had to work really hard to get this actually pumped out. I think the color was beautiful on her, and yes, there were some construction issues, there was some puckering in places it shouldn't have been, but I can't criticize too hard because that is really difficult, planning your dream finale gown and the person who is supposed to make it doesn't show up for you or cancels last minute, and then you're stuck trying to figure out how to get around that roadblock and still make it happen. I think she looked beautiful. I was happy to see her again. This color looked stunning on her. I just hope that she's not too down on herself, that maybe it wasn't perfect what she wanted, but she did it, and she should be proud of what she has, because she did look good. And our winner of the entire thing is the Virgo Queen. Now, when y'all get into the comments and start typing stuff up, I want y'all to be kind, because I am not tolerating or curating a space where we are hostile towards people for winning. I think it's very clear from my opinion that if I were to choose between anyone in the top 4, I would have chosen based off of overall performance in the season for Minnie to win. If I were to choose based off of the challenge, I would have chosen Helena and Michaela to be there, with probably Michaela winning. If I had to choose from this two, I would have chosen Michaela. I think Virgo is wonderful and extremely talented, but my first pick was Minnie or Michaela. And that can be true, and I can also be respectful and not diminish what Virgo has done all season. I commented on production because I do feel like they were a little heavy-handed in some of the direction they took with this finale episode, as they are oftentimes in finales. But that does not invalidate the work that she's done or who she is as a performer. But thank you so much for sticking around through this whole season. Thank you for those of you who came back again and again and again. And remember, I am moving all of my Drag Race content over to my alternate channel, which is Organza Extravaganza. Please follow, the link is below in the comments. I don't want y'all in like a month to be like, where's all the drag content? We followed for drag stuff and now there's XYZ. It's there. It's here. I'm currently working on season 17 and that will also be up very soon. So keep an eye out for that review. And I'll be doing hot takes, fashion stuff, etc. all over there. This channel is going to go to more variety, more queer history. I'm wanting to really dive into more fashion history. I'm getting a little bug that I need to get out of my system. So we're gonna see what happens as we move forward with this channel. But if you want to stick around, I promise that it will remain very, very queer. There just won't be as much, if any, drag race content here. Maybe every now and again, I'll talk about intersections of queerness and drag race here, but that won't primarily be the focus anymore of this channel. But thank you for sticking around throughout this entire season, and I will see y'all on the flip.